أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى يوم الدين. We see ourselves that after living a long life so far, Allah has blessed us with 30, 40, some are younger, 10, 20. Allah has given us life, but we see and we ask ourselves, what have we done with this life? Because this is a place of trade. This is a place where we're supposed to give our life and gain something in return. And the worst are those that they give their life and they live, and yet not only do they gain anything in return, they purchase the hellfire for themselves. So what can we do to be out of the place of ghafla, to be out of neglect and being unmindful of our duties? We have lived a long life, but how come we're always at the same level? How come when it comes to remembering God, we forget? When it comes to becoming a better Muslim, because God has given us 70, 80 years, most people, we never know how long we'll get. But this is supposed to be for us to reach a certain level. That's enough life for you to reach your kamal. But yet we see we're on the same level, if not decreasing. So we need to wake up. As we said, the tradition that we have from Rasulullah and Imam Ali, An-nasu niyam, people are asleep. فَإِذَا مَاتُوا انْتَبَهُوا, when they die, they wake up. When it is too late, when they are placed in the grave by their family and friends, then they wake up and say, Allahu Akbar, everything was real. All of this was true. And I have wasted my life. But can they come back? No, they cannot come back. Even that person that does good may wish to come back. Let me worship God. Let me be more serious. Did you ever have an exam, for example, and you got your score back and you said, I wish I had another chance to take this exam again. I wish that, for example, maybe I got an okay grade. I want to get a much better score. As you see many times of these exams that they're taking to enter college, like the SATs or SAT2s, everyone wishes to get something higher. But then when it's already finished, their time of taking these exams is finished, they can't go back. Or the grades they had in high school. They wish right now many of the letters, probably I'm assuming most of the college acceptance letters have come. And they say, oh, I wish I would have studied harder. I wish, I would get into this college, for example. And that is just the world. But in the hereafter, it will be much different. So therefore, we need to understand, what can I do to be awake? What can I do that every day I'm gaining something, I'm working for my hereafter? And one of the factors that we talked about, the factors of destruction that we're going to mention tonight, one of the factors that causes us to always be in ghafla, we're going to mention 3 factors. One of them just tonight is the material world, love of the world. That the love of the world makes us blind, having long dreams for this material world, working for dunya. And dunya, how Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, I believe, mentions in narration, is like salt water. What happens when you drink salt water? You get thirsty, and you might think you're being satiated, but in reality you're becoming thirstier and thirstier. That's what salt water does. It can kill somebody at the end. So the way that we look at the material world has to change. We have, beautiful traditions from Imam Hussein alayhi salam, some of the letters that he wrote from Karbala to his brother Muhammad Hanafiya, that فَكَأَنَّ الدُّنْيَا لَمْ تَكُنْ وَكَأَنَّ الْآخِرَةَ لَمْ تَزَلْ. as if the world for me, Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam, never existed. I don't really see this world. It's so temporal. It's an illusion for me. It's not a reality. It's just dunya. And as if for me, akhirat lam tazal, it has always been akhirat. It has always been, because we believe that heaven and hell are created already. Heaven and hell are alive, waiting in each person. We set the tradition. Each one of us in hadith has a position in hell, has a position in heaven. We will be shown in the narration, we will be shown that if you go to heaven, they will show your positions, and if you were bad, that is what you would be, in that position. That's your position in hell. And we become so delighted, if we could die, we would die. But God forbid, if we're that person, that we go to the hellfire, and they show us that position in heaven. Say, look, if you were good, if you were mindful, if you paid attention, if you had some taqwa, if you had some decency. You know, the doors of heaven, which in hadith say are 8. 8 doors of heaven. In verses of Qur'an, it makes it clear that the doors of hell are 7. Qur'an itself says there's 7. There's 7 abwab for hell. But it's a little different. They say, Imam Ali alayhi salam, in tradition, when he explains heaven and hell, the doors, when he talks about hell, he puts his holy hands on top of each other. They're tabaqat, they're levels. That these doors of hell, in a way, we understand it to be leading to each door to a different part of hell. Each door to a different part of hell. But the doors of heaven are 8. Some traditions even say 71. There are traditions that say 71 doors of heaven. And some understand this. Why 71? Why 8? How can you put these together? They say that each door can be a way, a method going into heaven. For example, one of the doors of heaven is Babul Ma'ruf. You do good. Ma'ruf. One of the ways, doors of heaven is Babul Hussein alayhi salam. That you enter heaven because of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, his love, respecting his message. So when somebody becomes good or does something good, there is one way that Allah accepts, or Babul Jihad. One of the doors of heaven is the door of jihad and strife. So different doors and different ways to get into heaven. So that's why they say the 71 might mean any way that Allah really, because in Barzakh they come and evaluate us, in the purgatory they evaluate us. If you have those bad actions, we get melted, we get cleansed. Now Allah is looking for an excuse. He says, oh, he would help people. He was generous, for example. He performed, for example, strife and jihad, or for example, he loved Imam Hussein and acted upon his message. One excuse to get us through one of those doors. How Imam Zain al-Abidin, I believe he says, how easy is it, how hard is it for a person to go to hell? He mentions, compared to other urafa or scholars that would say, I'm surprised at a person that goes into heaven. I'm surprised. That Imam Zain al-Abidin or Imam alayhi salam would say, I'm surprised to a person how he would get himself into hell when there's so many doors. Tonight we also mentioned one of the doors of heaven is the door of Qum. The door of Qum, the people of Qum. Now some people, they get offended. Say, hey, I'm from Shiraz, I'm from Isfahan, I'm from Tehran. Why don't we have a door? I'm from Iraq, for example, I'm from Lebanon. Or I'm from Los Angeles. Why isn't the door of Los Angeles, for example? Why don't we have that? But we look, it's not that you're born in Qum, because there are people that are bad in Qum right now. There are people in bad. How do we know they're going to heaven? It means the people of Qum, they were the muhaddithin. They were those that studied the hadith. They were those that love Ahlul Bayt when nobody at that time understood who they were. They were the first to love Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, were the people of Qum, those Qumis that had wilayat of Ahlul Bayt, that had knowledge of Ahlul Bayt, that practiced those, not just being in Qum in my Shanasname or my ID card says Qum, says, oh, I'm going to heaven. No, not that. So one of them is the people of Qum, and one of the bounties, and we mentioned, is the 10 days of Karamat. of Qom is that holy lady that is buried in Qom. But will hopefully do shafa'at for the people of Qom, for the Shia and followers of Ali Muhammad. This 28-year-old daughter of Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam, that traveled all the way from Medina to see her brother in Marv. You know, people think that Imam Rida alayhi salam lived in Mashhad. This is false. Imam Rida, the 8th Imam, did not live in Mashhad. He lived in Marv. He was buried in Mashhad. Marv is modern day Turkmenistan. It's not even in Iran today. Once I drove, for example, a few times from Tehran, which is in the middle of Iran, to Mashhad. It took forever. And I was the only driver falling asleep, 1,000 kilometers. And I thought to myself, I said, this journey that I'm doing, it's so long with the automobile, a car, safe. How did the sister of Imam Rida, maybe if I said daughter, I made a mistake. But sister of Imam Rida, daughter of Imam Qadhi, how did she make this journey from all the way from Medina, all the way to, we see, Marv. And she was not, unfortunately, they stopped her. Some say they attacked her caravan in Save. And she came to Qom, possibly poisoned. And she was only there maybe for 2 weeks. But the people of Qom, I said one door of heaven is the door of Qom. The people of Qom respected her. The people of Qom allowed her to worship. And today they have a place in Qom called Baytun Nur, a house where she worshiped for 2 weeks. And when she passed away in that 2-3 weeks, they're very careful how she was buried, because this is the daughter of Musa ibn Ja'far. She is someone that Imam Rida alayhi salam called Al-Ma'asuma, the infallible. Imam Rida alayhi salam is attributed to him, and she has a ziyarat nama, a text from the infallibles. Many of the children of the Imams, Imamzadis, don't have a text. People wrote the text. But Hadrat Abbas, for example, Lady Fatima Ma'asuma, the Shuhada of Karbala, they have a ziyarat text. And Imam Sadiq, before she was born, before she passed away, would say, whoever visits her with irfan, with knowing her, enters heaven. So she is one of the doors of heaven, is the door of Qom. And this is from the barakat, we believe, from Sayyidah Fatima Ma'asuma alayhi salam. Salawat for her. So Imam Hussein alayhi salam says, as if the world has never been, as if akhirat has always been, as if hereafter has always been. Can we really believe this? Can we really act upon this? That we really believe in the transient nature of the world? And how would that benefit me? And how would that change my view on world events, on what happens to me, when I truly believe that this is just a place of passing? That this, according to philosophers, they say if you compare this world to the hereafter, it's like a blink of an eye. I want you to right now blink 1 second. Do but no, 2 eyes together, blink. How fast was that? That compared to, for example, your life today is nothing, right? A blink. So this is like the world. Actually, in reality, it's even less, because the hereafter is infinite. And anything compared to infinity is zero. This is zero compared to. So if we truly believe that this world is transient, it's going to pass us by so fast, regardless if we're poor in it, we had lots of calamity. Actually, there's one of the doors of heaven, is that door of calamity. Those that had a hard life in this world, the door of heaven, they will get into heaven because they had a hard life in this world. So if we really believe this door is transient, then we will get moving. We'll say then in reality, we say that there's nothing but akhirah. And that's where I am. And that's where I'm going to be working for. Allah says in the Qur'an, Ma indakum yanfad. Whatever you have will end. Allah says, whatever you have will end. Whatever, even this home that you belong to, you have. The tradition has that the angel of death visits each house multiple times a day. The angel of death visits, and when someone dies, He's mentioning that you should not be sad because I will keep coming back to this house, keep coming to this back until nobody else lives in this house anymore. I will take the life of everyone in this house. Only the house will remain. Ma indakum yanfad. Whatever we have is going to perish. Everything is perishable. Wa ma indallah bagh. But what Allah has is lasting, and what you do for God is everlasting. Brothers and sisters, there are 5 stages when we see that the world for us is one of the factors of falling, factors of annihilation, and how many people have been destroyed for the world. There are 5 factors I want you to understand. Do we have one of this sickness? And you can say how like cancer has, for example, 4 stages or whatever. There's 5 stages of this cancer that's called love of the dunya. Again, attachment to the dunya. Because zuhd, according to Imam Ali, doesn't mean that you do not have anything. It means that you are not attached to anything. Because some, like Imam Ali, had lots of income. He had lots of income. He had so much income, Amir al-Mu'mineen, that he did not need and did not take income for being the Khalifa of the Muslimin. He didn't get a wage from the government. He didn't need it. And he had zuhd. He was never attached to money. So when we talk about this, first of all, dunya, we say attachment, not having. Because that's a blessing of Allah. We look at the traditions. Having a big home is a blessing, for example. There's many things, or having a good markab or ride is a blessing. But being attached to it is the problem. Zuhd means not to be attached. Asceticism means not to be attached. Or else Islam does not want us to be, for example, in the lowest of economy. Actually, I was teaching a class on jurisprudence. It said in general, tijarat and income is mustahab in one of the books. It's recommended to do business, recommended to have income for yourself, it said, or for the Muslim community. Because we need powerful, rich people. See, people that are controlling this government today or influencing it or controlling this country. A lot of them, because of the money that they have, because of the lobbying that they do, and the money that they send to the, for example, senators or congressmen, or they help them get elected. So money is power. That's good to have power. To use it in the right way. I'm not saying be poor and be destitute and be a beggar. But what I'm saying is that when dunya becomes for us, it blinds us. And it causes us to not to see the hereafter. We only see the dunya. So the first stage of a person that has this poison of the love of the world is liking it. Liking dunya. How do I know somebody likes the dunya? And again, I'm not saying I am Mr. Zahid, for example. I know I'm attached to the world myself. I'm saying this for myself. How do you know someone is attached to the world? Did you ever go to company meetings with other people? You sit down with them. What do they talk about? I want you to think of the last time you saw your friends and family. You sat down. What did you talk about? Dunya? For example, this car, this home, this business, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, this investment. If you're always talking about world, or this vacation, for example, if you're always talking about dunya, it means you like it a lot. It means it's in your heart. But imagine you sit with your friends and say, and this is how usually when we meet, a lot of the scholars, we meet together, we will see if that meeting has barakat and nur or not. Why? Because if we talk about Qur'an, we talk about hadith, we talk about what this scholar says, we talk about fiqh, usul, Islamic sciences, we say that's good. Because we're talking together, we're talking about deen. But if you sit together and just talk about, for example, how much is this crypto, what is that investment, how I can become more richer, what is the stock market, what did that celebrity say, what did this guy do, then that means that the first stage of dunya is in my heart already, loving the dunya. 2, dreaming of it, thinking about it. Okay, I'm renting now. For sure, I'm going to own this great home right by the beach one day. And I mentioned the example of those that are in Manhattan, that there are penthouses in Manhattan. It is one of the most expensive real estates. Let's talk about dunya a little bit. It's one of the most expensive real estates in the world. And people come and look at these penthouses and they say, how do these people live in a $40 million apartment? And they look and they observe, oh, today he bought a new TV because they don't have curtains. Today he bought a washing machine. They actually look, you know. So they look and they say, maybe I will never afford it, but I like to look at it. I like to think about it. I like to wish maybe one day I'll be there. Number 2, anxiety. Anyone here have anxiety about the world? Being stressed out? You keep looking at your portfolio, your investment. You own a little piece of land. Every day I call, hey, how much is it worth now? How much is it worth? You think they'll buy it? You're worried so much about the world. You have anxiety, stress. Oh, I bought a stock, for example. Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? I'm stressed out. That's the second. Qur'an mentions الَّذِي جَمَعَ الْمَالًا وَعَدَّدَ. Those that collect money and they keep counting it. They have anxiety for this. The third is, Qur'an mentions أَهْلَكْتُ مَالًا لُبَدًا. And those that say, I have destroyed all this money, I've wasted it, as in a way that they're actually very happy of their extravagance. The third is wasting money a lot, spending it, and boasting, I went on this vacation, I took first class, second business class. It's okay to take that if you want to have it and be comfortable, but about boasting about it, talking about how you're wasting and spending money all the time. It takes, for example, $500 to get to this point, but for you it takes $50,000, for example. You're just wasting, and you look, and one of the problems that people have usually is when the income goes higher, the spending goes as high as well, and they don't save anything at the end. Their lifestyle just increases. And pretty soon they keep spending. The problem is now their old friends that don't spend, their old friends that can't afford these vacations, they don't want to hang out with them anymore. You don't have this kind of car. Your car is not from Germany, for example. Your car has to be from this, for example, for me to hang out with you, because I get used to this extravagance. So the third step is what? Spending. I'm not monitoring. One of the good ways of a good believer is that they have husnu taqdeer al-ma'isha. It's a hadith. Your religion is complete with 3 things. At-tafaqquh fi ad-din, as-sabr fi razaya wa balaya, having patience. The other, husnu taqdeer al-ma'isha. That I have a good measure. I don't waste, and I'm not too stingy. Being stingy is also bad too. Being stingy. So having moderate measure. So we see that reality is husn taqdeer fil ma'isha. Having good measure is a way that I know I'm not part of the world. I'm not attached to the world. The fourth is because of the material world, I will not defend the truth. Now it gets more severe. Because I love the dunya, when I am tested, Allah brings us a test. Like we have been tested this last 6-7 months. Because we are supposed to command the good. We're supposed to forbid the evil. Is there anything more evil than qatl and killing? Is there anything more evil than starvation? Do we not have a duty to command the good? Do we not have a duty to forbid the evil? However much I can, right? However much I have. You have to investigate yourself. How much can I command the good? Does it have an effect? Usually it does to some extent. Is there a need? So we see this genocide that is happening this last 6-7 months. It is genocide, nothing else but genocide. That you see using 2,000-pound explosives on a civilian population. That possibly the fragments of the material that is shot out in these explosives, probably as much as a football field, if not more. And to destroy, and now when they stop this, they're saying, why are you stopping this? Well, do you really need to use 2,000 bombs in Rafah where there's tents? 1.5 million people in tents? So I will be afraid. The fourth stage is because of my position, because of the world. I don't want to upset anything. I'm afraid, I have a good life. I'm, married, kids, job, everything's good. I don't want to change that. So therefore, I won't do anything. I won't say anything. I'll hush up. I'll be quiet. I won't defend the truth. Why? Because of the world. Again, I'm not saying, for you to do something that is going to exactly harm you necessarily. From now on, everyone go and lose all your jobs or do some. You need to decide what your activism is, the best. And last week we brought an attorney here that her life was about, what the rights you have and to do things correctly. And you see that actually a lot of this activism that we have is actually safe to some extent. It's safe. But doing nothing and not caring, that is another sign of the world, because that has always been the problem. Has always been those good people that have said nothing and done nothing. That is when corruption happens. That's when genocide happens. When good people, be quiet. But we see people that are not even Muslim. They're talking about this genocide that's happening. The fifth, which is the worst, and this is how the love of the world dooms us, is that I will choose to fight against the truth because of the love of the world. I will love the world so much that I will fight against, I will starve young children. I will, for example, bomb civilians. And I know it's wrong. I will hide all of this so nobody finds out because of the dunya, because this helps me. If you look at, for example, ziyarat of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and you see that one of the factors that led to people fighting against Imam Hussein alayhi salam, ziyarat arba'in, it mentions because of the world, the love of the world. You always ask, why did they kill Imam Hussein alayhi salam? One of the dalils in ziyarat arba'in says because of the world, because of the love of the world. So this would be the worst sin, to fight against an imam, to fight against the truth, to fight against what you know is right because someone buys you for money. And we have politicians like this. They know it's wrong. They know it's genocide. But somebody gives them a big fat paycheck or helps them get elected, and they say, I cannot. Okay, I help you. I'll help you with fighting against the truth. So what can we do? We have to understand that when these 5 stages exist, one of the best solutions is that I have to reframe the way I look at life. If I love the world, what is the solution? What can I do? It is either because I want to live forever, one, because I love immortality. I want to live forever. I want to be in this world. As the Qur'an mentions, there's a group of people that there are ahrasa nasi ala hayat. They love the world the most. They're more hirs and greedy to protecting their life in this world. So the first step is, I want to live forever. I have to tell myself, okay, you have hubbul baqa. You want to live forever. That's good. That's a good feeling. Nobody loves annihilation. Nobody wants to die. Nobody wants to not exist. But tell yourself over and over and over, if you're like me, you like the dunya, tell yourself if you want to live forever, that you will live forever. There's no annihilation of your soul. You'll either be in heaven or in hell forever. There's no, this is the hubbul baqa that you have. Allah put it in your hearts. Don't make a mistake and say, I'm going to be baghi in this world forever. You're going to be baghi in the hereafter forever. Correct your vision. One. So you have to, God put inside of us natural inclinations for us to love to live forever, to love to survive. If you, example, most people here, if you put them in, for example, a treacherous scenario, freezing temperatures, that you're going to die, most of you would have an extraordinary power, that power to survive. Why? Because nobody likes death. For example, I put a tiger right now in Masjid Al-Nabi. We're not going to put it in the sisters section because they're super afraid. Put it in the brothers section. Tiger. How fast would you run? If you usually run 10 miles per hour, 5 miles per hour, you'd run 20 miles per hour, for example. You would be running so fast. Why? You want to survive. Is this something bad? Something good. But take this God-given innate inclination and use it for the akhirah. Shift it to the hereafter. Don't use this inclination of hubbul baqa in this world. This has always been the problem. God gave us natural inclinations. Instead of using them in the right way, we use them in the wrong way. God made man want to live forever. That if a tiger chases a man, he will be very strong. If a bear fights him, so he might get super strength and maybe defend himself. So therefore, you see that man has this, to then use this, shift it, and use it for the hereafter, and build your hereafter. There's no annihilation from you. We said this is the definition of man. Once he's created, there's no Adam. There's no death for you, no reality of death. There's only transfer of life to another part of life. So now that you're going to live forever, and you love living forever, then build the hereafter. Don't take all of your work and effort for a world that will never be forever. 2, the second inclination is love of completion. God has placed in us, what is the root of materialism come from? 1, either immortality, trying to live in the world forever. So we canceled that out. We said, you're not going to live here forever. Islam says you'll live. Qur'an says in the hereafter forever. 2, I love completion. I love kamal. Does anyone here like to be insufficient? No. Does anyone like to, even when you do something, to tell you, criticize you, and tell you, you did this wrong? There's an error here, there's an error here, there's a mistake here, there's a mistake here. Sometimes some kids, when they're not used to their parents telling them, one of the problems that we have in society, especially in Western American society, is parents will always say, good job no matter what to kids. Good job no matter what. So that kid is not used to criticism. So when they later on grow up and they have a job and boss tells them, no, you made a mistake here, they don't know what to do. Or wife tells them, or husband tells them, for example, you made a mistake here. It's one of the jobs of the fathers to, when they give, that love. Sometimes we say mothers have unconditional love. Yes, that's very good. But a lot of times you say natural fathers, they will praise a child when it's due. When you do something work, sometimes don't say fathers are mean. Fathers naturally would like to praise kids for what that good work that they do. They say, good job here, for example. This is a good job. But if you always tell them good job and they draw something, it's really, we don't want to be mean, for example, they mess up horribly. Oh, good job, great. No, the father comes and what did you do? What were you doing during class? Were you paying attention, for example? So this is good for us to criticize sometimes, to make sure the kid deserves to be complimented. Not always good job. So we see that the second is love of completion. We're talking about people don't want to be criticized. People want to be kamal and perfect. But the problem is we take this inclination God has put in every one of you right now. Every one of you want to be complete, but you want to be complete in the dunya because you forgot about the akhirah. You think your completion is to be the most powerful. You think your completion is to be the most rich. You think your completion is to be the most popular. But that is not completion. Your completion that God has created for you is true completion, which is nothing but reaching God, which is taqarrub, attaining the attributes of perfection from Allah, because He is the source of all perfection in this world. If anyone is compassionate and merciful, which is a very good, complete behavior, where is that from? Stems from Arhamur Rahimin, Allah, who is the most merciful, entirely merciful, especially merciful. When Prophet Musa alayhi salam saw a mother holding her daughter and wondering, this mother's protecting this child in this dangerous path and putting herself at risk for this baby, for this child. Prophet Musa alayhi salam, one of our top prophets, asked Allah to remove His mercy. Allah, remove your mercy from this mother. I want to see what happens, for example. I want to see what happens when there's no rahmah of Allah. And Allah does it. The mother puts the baby there in danger and leaves. When Prophet Musa asks Allah to remove His mercy from the mother. So Prophet Musa understood that even that mercy that a mother has for child, for baby, is from Allah, because He is the source of mercy. And then he asks again, Allah, put back your mercy into the mother. And Allah put back the mercy, the mother came and grabbed the child. So the compassion that you have, all these beautiful forgiveness that you have, all these beautiful attributes are nothing else from God. He is the source of this. So instead of looking for completion in dollars and property, looking for completion in popularity and followers and social media, look for completion from the source, which is Allah. The last, because you've been doing a very good job listening, and we want to give you a nice little gift, which is to make this speech shorter, is pleasure and prosperity. We don't have too much time to talk about this, but Allah has naturally given people love of lizzat or lidha, or love of enjoyment. Everyone loves to have fun. Everyone loves to have a good time. Everyone loves jokes. You guys, the best speeches are which one? The funniest. When the Shaykh or Maulana gives a few jokes, you usually don't remember the entire speech, you remember the jokes. The jokes are very good because we like to be entertained. We like to have fun. We like to have a good time. Is this something bad to have fun? Or should we always be depressed? We should never have joy in our lives? So again, Allah put joy, this desire to have joy in us, but where is it supposed to be fulfilled? With that joy of spirituality, with a heavenly joy, not a dunyavi or a dunyawi joy, a material joy. Did you ever try to have joy in this world? What happens when you have it twice, 3 times, 4 times? It has diminishing returns. What is the most thing you like the most, besides video games? And this is for the youth group, you have to say video games. What do you like the most, for example? Eating, whatever, talking with your friends. All of these things that you did once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, you eat, you get stuffed, it has diminishing returns, you get tired. This world can truly not satisfy mankind because mankind is looking for true joy, heavenly joy. You remember that tradition, I will end with this, about Imam Hussein alayhi salam from Kamil al-Ziyarat, that those that go into heaven, they're on the doors of heaven. They're asked, enter heaven. What would you do right now? You're in the doors of heaven. We would run. Most of us would run. I deserve heaven. I worked for it, for example. It says there are those that are on the doors of heaven, but they do not enter heaven. They don't want to go in. Why would anyone not want to go into heaven? Tradition Kamil al-Ziyarat of Ibn Qulaway says they are Huddath al-Hussein alayhi salam. They are speaking to Imam Hussein. They're speaking and sitting next to him, and even the ladies of paradise come. And the tradition says they don't even raise their heads to even see how they look like, because that joy that they get from Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and it is Imam Hussein in the hereafter, when all the barriers are removed, when you see the reality of Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam in the next world, they sit next to him. And they don't even raise their heads. They don't even want him to go to heaven because they're in front of something that is better than any type of material joy that they could ever have. Many people wish that they had this joy that you have in the masjid, in religion, in deen, in ziyarat, and reading the Qur'an. Many people wish they had this joy. So Allah put us to love joy, but people try to fulfill it in this dunya, and after doing that, everyone gets sick of the dunya. It doesn't really satisfy us. But this spiritual joy of connecting to God, crying for Allah, making dua, doing good to others, helping the oppressed, being kamil, being complete, that type of joy is the real type of joy that if we experience a little bit, we'll taste it and we'll want more, and then we'll be it'll help us to increase to go to the next level of spirituality. Tonight, this was a summary of the 5 stages of a person that has love of the world. I do not say that I am one of those that I am disattached from the world. And 3 natural inclinations that Allah has placed in us, that the root of loving of the world comes from loving for immortality, wishing to live forever. It comes from wishing to be perfect and powerful, which we understand wrong. And the last is loving joy, which all of these in Islam and spirituality, in the Islamic way of life, if we focus and shifted to the hereafter and to Allah, that will be saturated and be fulfilled in the complete way. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى